Hello, Kindred Spirits, and welcome back to Bits and Bob's Divination. Here with me, Caitlin, as we are going to be diving deeper into the continuation of my art grimoire to see what magic lies within its growing pages. So just as we did with the first part of this grimoire, which you can find right here if you missed it, and you're definitely going to want to check out that first, feel free to get yourself settled and comfy and cozy with a little snack, a nice blanket, or a little bit of some water or tea. You can also even use this as a way to listen in the background as inspiration to sink your teeth into the pages of your own grimoire. As I don't know about you, but I find myself doing that very often and will be listing those who inspire me down below in the description. Definitely check them out. And if you have any others, feel free to recommend those which have inspired you down below so we can grow our growing pool of art witches near and far here in this space. And if you find that this is a space that inspires you, consider subscribing, as I mostly put out pick-a-card readings and divination related videos here, but I enjoy sprinkling in a little bit of art magic here too as well, and have an entire master guide video on charm casting for you to dip your toes into. So if any or all of that has you intrigued, there are over 200 videos for you to check out and many more hopefully to come. So I'll have a playlist right up here as well as in the description for you to check back into to see any updates to this grimoire, so future grimoire tours, future art magic, and other educational videos to come back to explore. So who knows what's in there by the time you're watching this? Definitely worth exploring, I'd say. And as I share these pages within here for you, you're going to find examples of the handmade spell and ritual papers that I hand create with specific ingredients, paper types, and intentions to help elevate your own art magic practices. So be sure to check out my Instagram down in the description to see which ones are available, or even reach out if you'd like your own custom set in the future. I also send out snail mail readings too, with their own papers and custom sigils to use related to the reading that I send out. So I think a lot of you would really enjoy those. So definitely feel free to reach out if you're interested to support this space further and your own magical practice. Now, I would also like to mention before we really get into the thick of it here, a small content warning that there will be mentions of magic surrounding the themes of grief, around pet and family loss, and how magic has played a role in my personal healing on those topics. Not all of the pages are about this topic in here, but many are. And if you're not in a place in your own grief to hear about this kind of magic, I thought it was important to let you know. Although for those of you who are going through your own experiences related to grief and loss who are interested, I hope that this can help you in your own healing or inspire you in your magic. With that being said though, let's dive deeper into my art grimoire and the magic that is growing within. And by chunky, I really do mean this is getting chunky, as this is getting quite big, quite large. The last time that I was talking about this, I was talking about, oh, look at how much of a monster mount this is getting. No, look at this. This is ridiculous, but I absolutely love it. I love how spongy it feels. I am a little bit worried it's going to kind of come out of its seams at some point, and if it does, I've gotten a lot of ideas over on Vervain's channel, who does a lot of junk journaling grimoires, how I could maybe deconstruct this, put some signatures together and rebind it in multiple grimoires in a more junk journal style, or at least in the idea of how junk journals have a lot more room for the seams. So we'll see. But let's get right into opening this and showing you what's inside. So I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way and get us over here. So let's find where we last left off. I think I have it marked here. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out for us. But we have Lamas or Lunasa being the last page that we talked about. And you're going to find I have a lot of divination in here, as you found with the previous time. And for those of you who tend to like to ask how I do all of these different little mini rubbings of each of the different tarot cards, it's using these tarot tiles, which I will list down below on how you can get those yourself. But I love using these, and I'm going to use them a ton more in the previous and future pages. So like I said, this is where we last left off with Lammas and Lunasa. And as we move forward, I talked about wanting to move into doing a page on Lu. And as you can see, there are going to be pages in this go around where they're not entirely finished. And I did that intentionally because, well, both intentionally and because I ran out of time. But there are just pages where I feel like I want to really put in a lot of research, a lot of time, and a lot of care into these pages. And so they're working pages. They're pages that are still, I have a lot of notes behind the scenes, but they're not fully put in here yet. So I plan on doing an entire page on Lu, really diving into the Celtic lore of him, and also looking into putting a banana bread sort of muffin recipe over here that I like to use for a bit of kitchen witchery. But let's go ahead and see the next page. Okay, so this page also looks like it's not finished, right? It looks a little bit incomplete, but you'll find that it actually isn't. It looks like it is to the naked eye, but what I've been experimenting with is glow-in-the-dark ink. And it's been a lot of fun in this journal so far, and I thought the perfect one to play around with was lightning bugs. I love to work with different animal energy, and I really enjoy working with insect energy as well in my magic, sort of in the same way that like you'd work with a crystal and the energy of a crystal. I kind of like to work with the energy of bugs and animals in the same way that you'd work with like an oracle deck. So I did a bunch of research and wrote it all down using this glow-in-the-dark ink. And so as you can see, it's all written here in glow in the dark. And I also have it, if you like put this on here, you can see it glows as well. So that was a lot of fun to do and one of my favorite pages. So I'm hoping it's showing up on camera. And I also went along and did this with the glow-in-the-dark ink later on. The ink that I'm using here, in case you are curious, is called Noodler's Blue Ghost. So if you want to get that ink yourself, you can get that at a lot of different fountain pen stores and retailers. But it's really fun to use in Magic because you can use it to hide sigils or hide specific messages and intentions behind your art and your magic. Here on the next page, I created a little portal between summer and fall, and one of my favorite quotes is written here. So it says, "And all at once, summer collapsed into fall." And I just love the way that the page literally collapses into it. And that's really how summer into fall feels for me. It's very just, and one day it's summer and the next it's fall, and it just immediately switches. And so I wanted to sort of honor that, celebrate that, and talk about that using a little bit of eco magic here, where I actually created a eco print using I believe it's called tannins. I could be saying that incorrectly, in the fall leaves. So a lot of these leaves right here, I believe, were burning bush, and then this was a maple leaf, some wood sorrel, and some other leaves in here too. And you can see you can do this in a lot of different ways, but I really enjoyed this process because it actually infused a lot of the magic of the plant into the paper itself, which is a lot of fun. So I did that to create like this little portal here. After that, we're moving into Mabon. As you guys know, I love to work with my haikus and use the different cards here for the spreads that I do. This is a really great way for me to set my intentions for the season, set what I'd like to get done for the season, or how I want to move through energetically for the season. So I really like doing that for these pages. And this one is no different. I even used, as you can see, a bit more of my handmade spell and ritual papers. This is the Mabon paper. You can see it over here as well. But what was interesting about this is, as I mentioned, there's a bit of grief in the spreads to come. And one of the things that happened is I got this Ace of Cups, and I didn't really know why I got it, but all of the guidebook was saying that there's this gift on the way, that there's a gift that I should be open to the form that it takes. So it says, gift on its way, be open to the form it takes, so fleeting and rare. And I didn't really know what that was about, but as we are going to move through these pages, you're going to find that it was about the loss of a pet, and that the gift was just having a few more months with him. So a little bittersweet to kind of look back on these things, but it is kind of interesting to look back on as well, to see how the accuracy of the readings that I did, but how even though they're accurate doesn't mean that they're always clear. So it's really interesting to see that kind of stuff. Moving forward, we're jumping from Mabon to Samhain. Here at Samhain, I really just wanted to do a spread a little bit less spooky, right? The spread that I've done previously for Samhain was much more spooky, right? We got crows, we've got the oranges, the purples, the greens, we've got ghosties and all of the things. And this is like hearts. And the reason why was there was a lot of deep conversations that I was having with family members around queerness, around politics around queerness, and really kind of coming to meet sort of eye to eye on some topics. And it was a really powerful time and a really freeing time, because we were talking about the elephant in the room kind of feeling. And so I wanted to kind of speak to that, to the love that I was feeling, to the acceptance, to the understanding that we had found with each other. So I really wanted to explore that. And so Samhain had a very different feeling last year, although this year it's much more spooky. And moving forward, let's see what is next. So we're moving into winter now. And you're going to see there's quite a few that sort of jump forward here in time, and that's mostly due to the fact that, like I said, I was going through some grief at this time. A lot of anticipatory grief as we were doing sort of pet hospice for my dear puppy Loki, and you're going to see pages on him in the future. But because of that, I was having a harder time seeing not only the beauty of winter, but also the beauty in the dark months, as they were very, very difficult. So I wanted to do a winter palette beauty quest, and this was also inspired by Molly Roberts. I'm sure lots of you know about Molly Roberts by now, and also with her book that she more recently came out with of Rainbow Magick. This isn't sponsored, I just love her books and feel like I should mention them, but Rainbow Magick talks a lot about using color palettes and how they can, be these magical tools for us. So I wanted to create different color palettes related to winter that I can use in my magic, in my art magic, moving forward. And I want to complete the quest doing all of the seasons, but this is the start. The next page is on Imulk, and so you're going to see a big jump, right? I didn't talk about Yule, and that's because, and I even didn't do a year ahead spread, and that's because I was really struggling to do any tarot really at that time for myself. I was having fun doing it on the channel, but I wasn't really enjoying doing it for myself because I was going through so much anticipatory grief, and I was quite nervous to see what we would get. I was kind of living hour to hour, day to day, and because of that, the time felt so fragile, and I wanted a way to explain how fragile it felt, and the best way that I could explain it was using this paper. It's very crinkly paper layers that I used layers of tracing paper for. And those of you who are snow-dwelling people and ice-dwelling people in the winter would know that, when you're a little kid, the best part is when you go next to a puddle and you find that ice that you can crack with your feet. And that's what I felt like this really felt, very fragile, like that sort of glassy, air bubbled puddle in the winter with the ice. So that's what I was really kind of bringing out here, but the joy of the sun as well. And it was just a really hard spread to do, but one that was needed. But moving forward, here we are with Loki. This is my beautiful Loki. It has been kind of hard because no grief is easy, but I'm feeling okay today, especially since It was his birthday as I'm filming this, October 17th, getting back into it. But what's ironic is I was so excited to get to the halfway point of this grimoire, and it was one of the things that I was really looking forward to, and I wanted to even be at halfway the first time that I did a grimoire tour. And this has been marking the halfway point since the very beginning, and little did I know that the halfway point was actually something I never really wanted to reach. So it's just one of those weird, annoyingly serendipitous things. But yeah, I wanted to honor him and have a page talking about my little Loki and who he was and, you know, the things that he loved. And I also added in a little paw print of his and his little nose so I can give him kisses and boops. So I really love this page, and it's a wonderful page to be able to come back to as I've been grieving and as a way to kind of heal. Moving forward, we do have more on grief. Like I said, there's going to be some grief pages here, but I'm feeling pretty good today, which is nice. I wanted to do a page again on grief here, and this is one of my favorite quotes. It says, "Grief, I've learned, is really just love. It's all the love you want to give but cannot. All that unspent love gathers up in the corners of your eyes, the lump in your throat, and in that hollow part in your chest. Grief is just love with no place to go," by Jamie Anderson. And grief really has so many different forms, right? There's not one way that grief likes to present itself. Sometimes it's joy, sometimes it's deep sadness, sometimes you just feel hollow and numb. And so I wanted to explain that by showcasing the different hearts here. And also I ended up doing where sometimes your grief looks like this, where it's not too intense, and then some days, you know, you've got all these layers that are happening underneath and grief feels overwhelming. And so I wanted a place to be able to really put all of my grief down, but not have to look at it all the time, by using the sort of behind the scenes here of the cloud with the hidden ink. For the next page, I wanted to do a sort of big, large sigil mandala talking about the 2024 eclipse, solar eclipse that happened in Aries for both the sun and the moon. And I wanted to do sort of a way to kind of explain how I was feeling that day, how the event felt, as I'd only ever experienced one other partial eclipse. And for this one, I didn't get to see the total, but I was pretty darn close to the total. So it was still a partial eclipse. And it was really special and really beautiful, and I wanted to kind of explain how I was feeling. And I felt like I was going through quite a big transformation with all of this grief, and that transformation felt like a butterfly, which is a very transformative symbol, a very normal symbol to kind of call to. But as the months have gone by, I've realized it's much more moth. It's much more inward, where I see a butterfly as being sort of more outward active transformation. This was much more inward. So that's how I've been feeling with this, but I really liked kind of documenting that feeling that I had with the butterflies at the start. Because I really wanted to have a place to connect with not only Loki, who has passed, but also, as of when this got created, my aunt also passed right on my birthday as well. It was a really difficult time in both winter and spring, and so I wanted to have a place by the time we got to Beltane, which is when I created this, to connect with loved ones beyond the veil, and to have a very healing place to do that with the rainbow here. And so, as you guys are probably familiar with, I already have a sort of Samhain version of this, and Beltane and Samhain are both times in which the veil is very thin, and so this is more of an ancestral loved one sort of portal to come to. This one I feel like is more like to connect with nature spirits as well as loved ones, which I tend to work with a lot of nature spirits around this time. And as you can see, I used some of my Ostara paper, which I do not have in the shop right now, but I loved making this Ostara paper, and it was perfect for this. Super springy. You guys will probably recognize this page as we did create this rainbow oracle together. If you're interested in creating your own oracle in your grimoires or just in general with these little spinny ones, then definitely feel free to check out that video right up here so you can create one yourself. I had a lot of fun creating it, and I actually use it quite often. Today I got Believe and It Will Be So, but you might have gotten something different. And I also have in here some rainbow magic. You didn't get to see this side at that time, but I created an entire little page on rainbow magic here, and I was having fun playing around with adding little QR codes here. So that's something that, you know, maybe you should explore in your own journals. And exploring weaving magic. So I wanted to weave a charging plate to charge things with rainbow energy. And so I created one of those. And I also created a little rainbow finder so that I could find rainbows in difficult times. As it says, a rainbow is a promise of sunshine after rain, of calm after storms, of joy after sadness, and of peace after pain, of love after loss. And I felt like that was the perfect quote for this rainbow finder. So that was a ton of fun to create and very healing working with rainbow magic for sure. So of course, this is one of my favorite pages. And now I'm working with a little bit more of Molly Roberts' energy. So she created these different coloring pages, art magic coloring pages and coloring spells. And so I used the coloring spell of Flow and Renewal to create these pages. Flow because not only did we lose people in my life, but I've also gained people in my life in that now I have a new puppy. And our new puppy needed a lot of you need a lot of patience, a lot of flow to work through having a new puppy in your life. And so I've been working with flow, and then renewal, coming from so much grief and using that to grow into a new form. And so I'm still really working actively with both of these energies, and thus I created these little pockets here so that I can come back to them and write down more magical ways to work with flow in the future, maybe some art spells or recipes. And over here I created one as well, doing a very similar thing. These little magic tags, as well as this is from Claire, which I'll have her link down below as well for her channel, where she does a lot of amazing art magic. I love the different stamps that she creates. They're so fun. And this is one of hers, as we did some exchanges for some art magic snail mail. Moving forward, we have some more grounding pages where, like I said earlier, I didn't do a lot of tarot at the beginning of the year or any tarot readings for myself, as I was very nervous to get the death card or get a card that I wasn't really ready for while we were going through so much grief. And so I kind of split the year in half, where in the past I've done a spread on the card of the year and then a yearly spread. This time I did kind of split the year in half. So you've got the first half, which I got the death card for, and I plan to do some writing in at the end of the year. And then here on the second half of the year, I got a much chiller card of the Four of Voices, which has been really, really healing to have on my side. So really nice to have gotten this one. Here is the Aurora Borealis, which I haven't, as you see, finished this page, and I was actually hoping that maybe you guys could help me with finishing this page, as I'm currently learning a lot more about culture and lore around the Aurora Borealis and the Northern Lights. So if your culture has a certain way in which you work magically or culturally, or there's fun tales in which you wish to share about the Aurora or the Northern Lights, I would love to hear down below to gather some more information. But this year, as a lot of us here in the United States got to see the Aurora Borealis probably for the first time, or first or second time, especially so strongly, this was a really special time. And since May, I've now seen it once more. So it's been really, really special. And I created this little pocket here so that I can put different memories and write on each of these different little cards that I created, some magic, and also just memories to keep as well. He also wrote some information about how to take photos of the aurora and also to check out if there's an aurora tonight, which has been really useful to have those little QR codes. This page also is not entirely complete, as not only has there been a lot of loss for my aunt who passed as a family member, but also a pet, and also the green ash trees in our area and the one in my backyard, or all ash trees really, have been falling to the sort of will of the emerald ash borer, which will not be getting a page in this book, but I do want to honor the green ash tree that I work with. I work with 3 really big trees in my yard, and one of them is the green ash, and I've been working with this green ash since I was a child, and so it's really sad because next week we're going to be having to take this tree down, but I wanted to honor this tree with its last leaves and press each of the leaves down and really capture them, as well as writing information on how I can continue to work with green ash even after not only the green ash in our yard is gone, but also the ash trees in the entire state I live in and across the United States are falling ill to this horrendous insect. And so I plan to work with the bark and the energy of the green ash for quite a lot longer, using the gathered bark, leaves, and pieces of wood that I have left for Yule logs, and to use them in my magic and cleansing. So I wanted to write all of that down here, but as it's still something I'm working with and working through the grief for, it isn't complete yet. Then we're moving on to Lunasa. I feel like this is a turning point in my journal where a lot of it has been grief, although this page does still talk about grief. It's starting to turn where I feel like I am, where we were talking about here with renewal. I feel like I've been in this for a large portion of the year, and I feel like I'm finally kind of getting to the other side of it, a little bit above ground, and it's really nice to see. So Lunasa was a big turning point for that. So I spoke about Lunasa, and you can see I'm also starting to work a lot with my hand-carved stamps. They're starting to really come in here, and I even created little ash tree stamps as well. And it's been a really healing process, and if you guys are curious to see my stamp collection, which I have quite a few stamps here, if you're curious to see all of the stamps that I have been carving and creating, I would love to show you guys in a future video, but I would love to hear if there's even any interest in that and how to even create your own stamps. But I also created a grief playlist here to work through more of my grief. And this is one of my favorite spreads where I am really working some more active magic. I feel like a lot of it's been healing magic, a lot of it's been working through waves of grief, and this is magic that I feel like isn't so inward anymore. I feel like I have a lot more outward, forward momentum musings happening here. And so one of them is, as I mentioned, Vervain earlier. Vervain also has her own music, and one of the songs is called Mending. And it says, "And like a spider, I'm mending." It's a really great song. Definitely check it out. So I wanted to create a spread showcasing and working with mending magic, the mending magic of spiders. And so I created a little spider stamp and worked on a weaving here. I'd love to show how to create a weaving in the future, so if that's also something you're interested in, I'd love to do more weaving magic in the future and could show you how to create your own. And to continue on that forward movement energy, I actually created a movement spell here with this little, I don't know if I would call it a servitor or if it's, or the spirit of movement. I'm not exactly sure. It was very much all in a spur of a moment, which was perfect. But what I wanted to do was create a spell in which was connected and tied to me in creating more physical movement in my life, as well as mental shifts in movement. And so I wanted to make something that you could physically take with you and move around in your space, as that's the whole point. And I wrote all of my intentions here on the back, and I've been working a lot with the cicada energy here as well for this transformative magic. We're getting closer to the end here. This is a new moon spread where I wanted to write my new moon intentions, and not only did I write my new moon intentions, but I also did a little reading for them to sort of set and figure out what those intentions should be and what would be most helpful and useful. But to write them down, as you can see, they've started to fade, and the reason why this is I used a ink that is very much tied to the new moon with release, banishing, letting things go, and that ink is pokeberry ink. So I'm having a lot of fun using the new moon in combination with pokeberry, because what's really great is, you know, a whole cycle of the moon is the perfect timing for this ink to also fade. And so it also serves as a way to kind of keep my intentions moving, because as I refocus on this spread, I can see the ink, you know, sort of as a timer being like, okay, you've only got to the end of the month, you've only got to the end of this time to finish this thing up. And so it's really, really helpful, and has a magical tie to new moon, or the new moon in general. So I'm having a lot of fun with doing these new moon spreads, and I hope to do more in the future. I did a Mabon spread, very similar to my Lunasa one. I forgot to mention, but I've started to actually use rubbings of not only my tarot cards, but also my runes. So I've been doing a rune for each season as well. So I have Feu for this one, and wrote down my musings for this season. And then we are at our final page, and it is my autumn palette beauty quest. So where we had the winter palette beauty quest before, right, we now have a autumn one. And where winter is a lot harder to find the beauty in, autumn is not. Autumn is so rich with it. I had to really have, you know, a lot more choice into this and had to be very much more selective. But what I really loved is each of these subtle parts of the palettes I can start to play with in my own autumn magic as I move forward. And you can almost see that as you move through this, the colors that I'm using, the ways that I'm working with color, the purple yellow season, right, of Mabon, and around those seasons, all of this really is through these beauty quests that I'm doing, and these quests to find and work with color magic. And so this has been a lot of fun, and I would definitely highly recommend creating your own palette beauty quest for the season or for specific Sabbats. But that is the end of the Grimoire. I hope that this has been fun for you. I know it was a bit more of a downer in certain places, but I still hope that this has been healing, useful, or helpful in some way. And if it was, I'd love to hear which pages really called out to you, the ways in which you maybe are feeling inspired, or if, like I said, you have information you want to share about specific techniques or things that I did in here, such as the Aurora Borealis. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And also, if you're like, yes, I want to see a stamp collection, yes, I'd like to see how you made this page, or how you do weaving magic, or other types of art magic, please let me know in the comments down below, because it might really influence the different art magic that I share here in the future. And if you did make it all the way to the end here, and you're really enjoying the flip through, definitely feel free to subscribe. As I mentioned, I have over 200 videos already on this channel, and of those, most of them are pick a card readings, but I also have a playlist that's listed down below in the description on more of the art magic that I get up to. So if you want to check any of that out, you can. And if you're interested in getting your own sort of snail mail reading in the future, where I send a reading to you in the mail, diving deeper into the art magic you could be creating, maybe your creative gifts, talking to different spirits you wish to work with, and maybe even just looking into a theme that you are curious about, then definitely feel free to reach out for one of those. Or if you want to look into getting your own spell and ritual papers for Samhain or Yule, Mabon, or another season, then definitely feel free to check out if there's any available down below through my Instagram. But in the interest of not making this too long, I do hope that I get to see you again, kindred spirits and magical souls. And until then, keep your mind open and your eyes wide to the magic all around you. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.